Hi, we're Blood Red Shoes, and this is GETADDICTED.org.
The first song that I can remember ever hearing was Born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen. I remember being 7 or 8 and like constantly singing it and not knowing any of the words, but just constantly repeating I was born in the USA all the time. And my dad actually had this really old like reel-to-reel tape machine that he taped me singing along to it, which somewhere in existence there's a tape of me singing it in a really high little kiddie voice. That whole song is just one repeated melody all the way through, so it's no wonder a 7-year-old can understand it.
The first thing that I can remember is probably Michael Jackson Bad, because I just remember dancing around to it in my house and having, I think it was like my mum had it on vinyl, like the album, and yeah, Bad was my favourite Michael Jackson song.
The first song that I ever bought, funnily enough, the first album I ever bought was Bad by Michael Jackson. I bought it on tape, cassette tape, I remember. But the first actual song, like on its own, a single, I think it might have been Blur. I think the first time I ever bought a single might have been something off of Parklife. It might have been the song Parklife. But again, I bought it on cassette. Like when they had cassette singles in the little cardboard sleeves that you could slide out.
I remember my first ever, with my own money, going to Woolworths, which was like this, it was an English shop that doesn't exist anymore, but it had like, you know, you could buy all the latest chart stuff. And the first two that I bought that day was Bjork, Violently Happy, is that the song? Yeah, it was like that. And I also bought Waking Up by Elastica.
Massive tune.
Yeah, and that was like partly reason why I guess I'm in a band, is partly to do with that band. I did buy some really bad stuff like Jason Donovan. The first song I could play on an instrument, I think, was Achy Breaky Heart.
You can't admit to that.
No, that was guitar. No, I realised that was guitar. On an instrument, piano, I guess, oh, God knows what it was, some sort of classical thing. Achy Breaky Heart. Who's that even by?
His daughters, Hannah Montana, Billy Ray Cyrus. Yeah, the first instrument I ever learned was piano, and I don't remember the first songs I learned because they were all classical things. I got really bored of learning piano. The first song I remember learning after I got bored of piano was my friend taught me how to play Come As You Are on his guitar, because it's no chords. It's really easy. It's just like, it's just two. In fact, there's not even more than 2 strings. It's really, really easy. And I remember learning it on his guitar and thinking, wow, guitar's cool, and then wanting to quit piano and get a guitar. And then after that I quit guitar and realised that drums is way better than all of them.
The first thing I ever wrote was when I was about 11, and I had, my mum used to play guitar a little bit, and she had this like acoustic guitar, and I couldn't play a single chord, but me and my friend Helen used to just strum the guitar, and we wrote a song called She's in Her Own Little World. And it was about a girl in her own world.
The first song I remember writing was the very first band I had, which was an imaginary band, because it was just me and a friend from school going, yeah, we're in a punk band. We are a punk band. We never played. And I only had an acoustic guitar, and he just sang over the top. So it wasn't really punk at all. But the first song we ever wrote was called Train Spotting Song. And it was just my friend who is the singer of our punk band that we just wanted to be the Sex Pistols. I came up with the simplest bit on the guitar. Again, it wasn't any chords, it wasn't anything, it was all on one string, and it just was the simplest thing. I think it was actually a rip-off of Smoke on the Water, but without the chords, because I couldn't play them, and I just sort of played these notes, and he was just taking the piss out of people that go train spotting. Because at the station near where we grew up, there was actually dudes who would go and like write trains down in their notebook, and that was what we sung about when we were 13. Because that's really punk.
I remember the first song I performed live was Alarma Farmers. They're a band that I don't think anyone would remember them now. It was a really simple song, so it was quite easy to do. And then after that, I I think a whole cover and Nirvana, the obvious.
First song I ever played live in when my fictional punk band actually got a gig, right? Which was actually at my little sister's birthday party. And I borrowed an electric guitar. We'd managed to get someone to play drums. I can't even remember who it was. Just someone who barely knew the songs. And he just kind of did one straight beat across, regardless of what the song did. And we tried to do God Save the Queen by the Sex Pistols and thought we were fucking really, ripping the world in half. The fact that what was amazing about it was my little sister asked us to play, and the whole time she'd been taking the piss out of me for wanting to be in a punk band. And then when it came to her birthday, she was like, "Oh, can you play at my party? My friends think it's cool." That was a good victory. The song to my first kiss. Whoa, what was the song to my first kiss?
Mine was what's it called? Darth Vader. What's he in?
Darth Vader. What's he in?
Yeah, what's the
Star Wars.
Star Wars. I went to the cinema. I went to the cinema to see Star Wars. That's my first kiss. Amazing.
So the first time you kissed someone, there was da 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 da. That's pretty. Wow. I have no idea. I don't think there was any music involved in the first time I kissed a girl.
You just like silence.
Silence was complete. So just the really horrible, sloppy, fumbly sound of two teenagers trying to figure out what the fuck French kissing is. The song to your first.
Weirdly, Green Day.
Green Day is sexy music.
No, it really isn't. It wasn't expected to happen. Sorry.
Yeah. Again, there was no music for my first time. Second time was probably Smashing Pumpkins. It's probably somewhere in the track listing of Siamese Dream, I would assume. Or Billy Corgan in the background where he was going with his weird nasal voice. The first song that made me cry that I can remember is a song by a band called Hood, who are a really little known English band from Leeds. But they have a song called Useless, which I don't even quite know why, but just something about the feel of it. I still to this day, if you put it on, I will pretty much cry. It's like pushing a button. I pretty much cry. It's so good.
I don't remember the first song that made me cry, but I do remember crying to The Streets of Philadelphia by Bruce
Springsteen comes back again.
Yeah, I remember feeling really touched by that. So sad, but I loved it. I love things that sound sad anyway.
The first song I downloaded, I don't remember what it was, but when we got a free trial in my house, you remember AOL?
AOL had a CD.
They sent those CDs through the door, and you could get a month of free internet down your phone line, and it was fucking slow.
That was the only internet I ever had. When we used to email, that was what I was emailing on AOL. That free thing.
Cool. Well, the first thing I did, as soon as we got it, me and my friend looked up loads of Smashing Pumpkins B-sides that we couldn't find and downloaded them all one by one on, I don't even know what format it was, because it must have been like the first ever MP3 at like 8-bit or something. It sounded shit. And then we streamed them all off the computer onto a cassette, really shit cassette player, or like a Walkman headphone input or something stupid. First song I would ban from the radio. Achy Breaky Heart.
No, there's a lot worse than that. I'll tell you what I heard the other day, which is probably the worst thing I've ever heard in my entire life, was Razorlight did a song where Burberry paid them to write a song about Burberry. And yeah, if that ever got on the radio, that would be, I mean, I don't think it will, but that I would ban that. I'd ban that from the history of all music, history of the world.
I could probably ban a huge amount of music, but right now the first thing that came into my head is there's a band called The Vaccines who just got really big in England, who are one of the worst pieces of shit I've ever heard. They actually sound strikingly like the imaginary band I had when I was 13, except that they don't have distortion pedal. They don't even have the imagination to get a distortion pedal to make it sound cool. It just sounds like my first song, except these are like four guys in their 20s who know what they're doing, supposedly.